everybody, I pray this video finds you blessed. So this week I'm going to turn some French rolling pins. I wanted a French rolling pin for quite some time because they're a little easier to operate with one hand when rolling out certain types of dough. I got really lucky and found a bunch of these blanks at a yard sale for really cheap, and decided that this would be a perfect time, and I have no excuse now to make my own French rolling pin. I'm gluing 2 blanks together at a time because when I cut these out on the bandsaw, that wave pattern will be cut in both of them, and all I have to do is switch them over, glue them together, and they will fit perfectly without having to try to duplicate the same cut. I actually seen something similar to this being done years ago when there was a show on television about these guys that would go out and build beautiful tree houses, and he was using this kind of method to make the banister railings, and out of all of those episodes, that was the one thing that I remember was how he had cut those banister railings, and it was just so simple but awesome how it all ended up fitting together. Of course, this is obviously a little different because I'm turning these around once I get them cut and glued together, but it's funny how things you see that impress you, and years later you find they're able to put that kind of concept to use. I know this might be simple, and a lot of you are like, duh, this is, we do this kind of method all the time, but for me, it was something new that I hadn't tried or done, so it's awesome. So one unfortunate thing about glue ups is that you have to have all the clamps in the whole wide world to have enough. So I didn't have enough clamps to do them individually, so I decided to clamp 2 at a time together. It ended up working out fine in the end, but it would have been nice if I was able to clamp them all separately, because I did end up with some gaps to fill, but it wasn't as horrible as I anticipated it to be. Because I want all 4 colors in one rolling pin, I'm doing the same method again by stacking them on top of each other, cutting out that wave, and then doing another glue up. The one thing I didn't keep in mind is when I glued the 2, the purple heart and the red heart together, I would have much rather had the other 2 colors separating those colors, but it ended up turning out just fine. It's just one of those things that I wish I would have paid a little more attention to when I first started to glue them and attach them. I was just kind of excited to try the whole method. I didn't pay much attention to how the order of colors would be. These blanks weren't all the same length when I first started. I just figured I'd cut them down to even them all out once I got them all glued up. But if, obviously you can make all your blanks the same size before you start, I just felt that it wasn't necessary because I would do that in the end. Also, I sprayed a little bit of water on the blanks before I spread the glue because the first time it was a little hard to, it was really sticky to spread the glue. And also I've read that wetting it down helps to swell the grain, will also help get a better hold. I don't know how true that is. I don't experiment much with glue ups, gluing pieces of wood together. It's mostly resin that I glue wood together with. So I felt that it worked just fine. So I can definitely tell the different densities of the wood turning this with them all mixed like that. It just feels a little different when you're cutting it. It's not a consistent type of cut. So I just figured I'd share that because it was just interesting to feel how it was cutting with 4 different types of wood all kind of, blended into one. For each blank, I just measured the center and then 3 inches out and then 2 inches out from the very ends. And the reason why I marked a 2 inch is just in case when I started to taper, I wanted to do a less taper or more of a taper. And then that way I kind of have it marked after I flattened it all out. So I took my calipers, and I think for this one I did 1.5 inches. And I kind of accidentally made it a little smaller. So I had to readjust my calipers and then cut the sides where I wanted to stop and then start my taper for the very ends. It just helped give me a guide to make sure I kept nice and straight. These are actually a lot harder to keep perfect diameter all the way down. I really admire and respect those who do spindles and duplicate them yourself and keep certain dimensions spot on. It is definitely a challenge for me, and I thought this would be just a little bit easier than what it really was, getting those flat spots out of there. Plus the wood is different colors, so while it's spinning, the light is reflecting off of the lighter wood, and then it's obviously the light's being absorbed by the darker wood, so it was really tricky on the eyes as well. And so there was a lot of things that I noticed during this turn that I didn't really expect, because I've never done rolling pens before, or anything that had to have specific measurements and be nice and perfect and flat. So it's just a challenge for me. I'm used to being able to just go with it and do whatever that comes to mind, and so things that have rules are a little trickier for me. For sanding, a friend of mine suggested to put sandpaper on a board, so I cut a board that would fit in between the areas where the flat spot needed to be, and wrap sandpaper on it just through the rougher grits, just to make sure that I was sanding it nice and flat, and if there were any little humps or dips, that hopefully I would be able to sand those out. I had a few spots where there was some gaps. I'm assuming that's because I couldn't get a really good tight clamp on them, which is fine. I just took the sawdust from my bandsaw from cutting these out, collected it in a cup, and used a little bit of CA glue to fill those in, and that worked out just fine. I'm just marking the size that I would like to taper down to the very least, the very ends, and then trying my best to make both tapers consistent. And I put a little bit of tung oil, pure tung oil, on the sanded part, the part that I had finished, just so I can see I know where the flat part begins and the taper should end once I started cutting it, and it really did help. I did another one, and I didn't do that first, and when I started, I was like, oh, I'm going to put something on here so I can see the difference in the color of the wood, and it helps me to visually stay on track. I sanded the whole rolling pin to 600 grit, and then I'm using Brad's abrasive sanding paste. And for my finish, I'm using Brad's tongue wax finish, which I love. It's made with pure tongue oil and beeswax, so it's a food safe finish. You apply it really well and then walk away from it for 15-20 minutes. In this case, it sat on there for about an hour. I had to put a new ridge vent on my shop, so I was on the roof while I waited for that to soak in really well. I just used my Jacob's chuck with my sanding pads attachment, put it in there. It was a lot easier to roll the pen on the sanding paper versus trying to clamp the pen in anything and then, use the drill. And this worked just fine. I went through all of the grits, applying the sanding abrasive paste, Brad's sanding abrasive paste, with one of those scoring pads. I think this one in particular is a 400 grit. It does kind of make a mess. You've seen my hand putting it in front of the camera so it doesn't splatter everywhere, but it works really well and quick. Howdy everybody. So I want to start off by saying that these rolling pins are a lot easier said than done, that is for sure. Getting them nice and straight is, I know in the video it looks kind of easy but it's not. You drive yourself nuts, and I have OCD, so I think everybody has a certain amount. So getting them nice and flat, it's hard to tell in the camera. Let me see if I get the angle. There is a slight, it's like just a little bit of light peeking through one of these, and I don't know which one is the one that's not as flat. Anyways, how frustrating. They were fun to make. I really loved and enjoyed doing the spirally, I guess, or the wave design with the 4 different colored woods. So that was fun. The challenging part was just getting this flat. I'm part of an online wood turning club, Worldwide Wood Turners, and they have a lot of experienced turners that are a part of the group, and I really appreciate. Thank you, Cade, for giving me that advice with using the board on the sandpaper, which helps to keep that nice and flat. I did that for the rougher grits, and then as I went through the finer grits, I just kind of did it by hand since there wasn't going to be a whole lot taken off. But getting that initially flat is definitely a challenge, and because there's rules, you're gonna have to have it flat, and I don't play well with rules. I like being able to just go with it. And for rolling pins, there's specific things that you have to do in order to make them work like a rolling pin. So I have 3 more to do. I have 2 blanks, and I'm going to cut one of these in half because I like to do wonton wrappers and smoked buns, or not smoked buns, steamed buns, Chinese buns. So the smaller one helps to where I can roll with one hand and turn the dough with the other hand. And that's kind of why I decided to do a French rolling pin, so that way I can operate it with one hand. And I haven't used it yet. I plan to sometime this week, so maybe in my next video I'll let you know how that worked out. But if anybody's used a French rolling pin, it's a rolling pin, so I guess it's all in just how you want to use it. Sorry, y'all get to see my messy shop. It was too hot in there to do this video. It's like 100 degrees today. What is going on? Brad from Brad's Workbench is going to be giving away a kit of his wax finish, his tongue wax and his sanding abrasive. So if you would like to enter to win, put in the comments of this video, make sure you include the words food safe, and that will enter you to win a kit. I will announce the winner on the first Thursday of June, which I think is the 3rd. Don't quote me, but it will be the first Thursday of June, my next Thursday video in June. I will announce the winner of the kit. Now, there are a couple other YouTubers that are also going to be doing a giveaway. All of their dates are different, but I will put the links to their channels in the description below so you can go and, find out when their giveaway is going to be and how you can also sign up to win a kit, because you can win double the kit. Also, Brad, head over to his channel. I put the link in the description below. He's the one that's graciously giving away kits to the winners. And he is also giving away, I think, some ball scrapers. So it'd be worth to go over there, check it out, and don't forget to subscribe. The rules to the contest is you must be in the United States. Unfortunately, with customs and everything else right now with the COVID, blah, it is causing shipping delays and issues. So, sorry everybody who's not in the US. This is limited to US residents only. You also must put food safe in my comments. Everybody will have their own keyword to use for being a winner. It's just so it helps the winner picker program pick up on those words, and that way we can randomly and fairly choose the winner. So, anywho, put the links for all of those all those channels in the description below so you can go check them out. Make sure you sub, and y'all have a blessed and wonderful weekend. Take care and God bless.